last left our intrepid hero. He was a humble writer who awoke in his own show.
All I want to do is get out of this stinking little town.
Now,
What's the rush?
with the help of his typewriter, will he get Laurent?
He's dying for me.
Will Janet fall for Jack? Will Jack survive to the next episode?
Stranger knows no danger.
John Candy.
I created this whole town. Yes.
Delirious. Rated PG.
Starts Friday in a theater near you.
An old flame of Rick's sees too much.
I don't think I'd ever forget his face.
A woman saw me do it.
What are you going to do about it?
Tonight at midnight on Fox 50. Live from Metro Detroit, this is Michigan's only prime-time newscast, the 10 o'clock news. With Roger McCoy, Amir Jacobson, Ray Lane Sports, and Gary Basner Weather.
It was a welcome home that was 5 years in the making, and tonight, for one British subject, home really is where the heart is. Good evening, everyone. I'm Amir Jacobson.
And I'm Roger McCoy. 34-year-old John McCarthy has been freed after 5 years in captivity. The Englishman was set free by the Islamic Jihad, and he is now carrying a message for the Secretary General of the United Nations. Tonight, many people are wondering if an American hostage will be the next lucky one. There was a hero's welcome home for John McCarthy in London tonight. 12 hours earlier, he was set free in Lebanon after 1,943 days as a hostage. In McCarthy's hometown of London, his colleagues at Worldwide Television News popped champagne corks, and his church held a service to thank God for answering their prayers. There was also new hope tonight. McCarthy told reporters that he had been held with 3 other Western hostages, among them Terry Anderson, Terry Waite, and Thomas Sutherland.
When I left them 2 days ago, they were in good health and in good spirits.
There's now speculation that American Terry Anderson could be let go in the next few days. Despite the news, President George Bush told reporters he's taking a cautious approach to the situation.
So the game goes on. Certain cruelty to it. In a sense of tragic dance, but on the other hand, there's some hope out there.
And it may be in the message that McCarthy is carrying from his Islamic Jihad captors to UN Secretary General Perez de Cuellar. Cuellar hasn't seen the message, but hopes it's the first step towards freedom for all the hostages. Former hostage Thomas Polhill agrees and hopes it happens before the Middle East peace talks in October.
Before that happens, we ought to have all of these hostages back in their own homes where they belong.
Well, the whole hostage issue is a complex one, and it also involves dozens of countries. Now, though, it looks like the ball is in Israel's court. Several Arab nations and Great Britain want Israel to release hundreds of Lebanese and Arab political prisoners. And Israeli officials tonight say that they might do that if the Lebanese free 7 Israeli soldiers who are hostages of Muslim terrorists. Amir?
Well, now that John McCarthy is free tonight, what of the remaining Western hostages? What led to today's release? And talk of a second hostage being freed. Cynthia Canty joins us now live from the Fox 50 newsroom for some of the answers. Cynthia?
Well, Amir, one thing seems very, very clear tonight. In the aftermath of the war with Iraq, there has been a very definite shift in the power equation in the Middle East. And with some pushing from our Secretary of State, groups like Islamic Jihad may be convinced to finally let their captives go.
We, as an organization and as individuals, deplored the taking of hostages from the beginning.
That's why today's release of British hostage John McCarthy is good news to Detroit's American Arabs. Harold Samhat credits the newest Middle East peace drive by Secretary of State James Baker, a drive to bring Israel, Syria, and the Palestinians to a peace table.
To bring the parties together, we always felt that it would take effort on the part of the U.S. to accomplish this, and we see that happening now.
That, says Samhat, has caused powerful forces in the Arab world to realize the value of freeing those hostages. Just how did the hostage-taking begin? Wayne State professor Frederick Pearson says, like all terrorism, it was an act of weakness during the long Lebanese civil war.
It almost became a necessity for each little splinter group to have their own set of hostages to deal out to other groups or to countries if they wanted something.
With the ceasefire in the Lebanese civil war and guarded hopes for the Baker Mideast Peace Initiative, Syria and Iran are trying to convince the splinter groups to free the hostages.
I think the groups, you know, they want to see a peace. 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 They want to see a pe aren't sure what to do with them. I think there's some desire to release, but then there's also worry that their own causes will suffer.
As for the fate of the remaining hostages,
we can only hope that these hostages will be released soon and in due time and unharmed, and that they'll find another way to play this game.
Now, as Professor Pearson told me, there is plenty of disagreement among those in the Arab world as to whether or not the hostages should be freed. Many in the splinter groups are afraid of losing whatever bargaining power and clout they have if they free the hostages. And that has led to this kind of one step forward, two steps back roller coaster that the hostage families and the rest of the world have come to know so well. Amir?
Okay, Cynthia, thank you very much. Once again, that's our Cynthia Canty live from the Fox 50 newsroom tonight. There are 6 Americans being held hostage in Lebanon. They include Terry Anderson, the Associated Press bureau chief, abducted in Beirut in 1985. Thomas Sutherland and Joseph Sicipio of the American University, writer Edward Tracy, and Jesse Turner and Alan Steen of Beirut University College. Well, Steen, of course, is from Michigan, and today's release of McCarthy has raised the hopes of his family in the Jackson area.
Virginia Steen goes through this emotional roller coaster just about every time a hostage is released. Tonight, though, Virginia hopes that Christmas might come a little early this year and that her husband will be sent home soon. Fox 50's Mike O'Neill has her story.
I admire his strength and courage, and see a man after all these years come through looking so good. It's just a wonderful feeling. So our hopes now are that, this step forward will be followed by more progress, and our hope, of course, is that all the hostages will be released very, very soon.
For Virginia Steen, it's a hope born of love. A faction of the Islamic Jihad holds her husband. Alan Steen was taken hostage in January of 1987. The 52-year-old teacher was taken hostage on the day he and his wife marked their 6-month wedding anniversary. Virginia Steen is well aware of rumors that one American may soon be freed. The 35-year-old has heard such speculation before, too many times before.
It's a horrifying thing to have to deal with. And that's why we're hoping this time that all the hostages will be, coming home at once. And, from wherever they are being held, whatever country they're being held, that all hostages will be released. Because this release of one hostage after another, one hostage per year, is just so agonizing.
For Virginia Steen, every time there's a television report out of Beirut, every time the phone rings in her home here in Clark Lake, she hopes it will be with news that her husband is being released. She hopes, but then tries not to get those hopes too high, because this is an agonizing, as she puts it, emotional roller coaster that she's been on for 4.5 years now. In Clark Lake, I'm Mike O'Neill, Fox 50, 10 o'clock news.
Virginia Steen says that she's ready to fly off at any moment to meet her husband. But at this point, Steen is also planning to go back to work this fall. She'll be teaching at Albion College. Well, Terry Anderson's sister also was riding an emotional roller coaster tonight, and Peggy Say hoped that her brother would be released today. She is, though, encouraged by what she heard from John McCarthy.
We've gotten the best possible news, and that is that Terry and Tom Sutherland and Terry Wade are all in good health. Their conditions have improved, and John said that he had gotten his strength from Terry. Knowing that, and the tremendous relief I felt because I was very, very disturbed by the recent pictures, I can wait it out, and I know now that Terry's going to stay strong, and if he can endure what he's endured for 6.5 years, then I can keep on keeping on.
Peggy says that she will continue to put on that political pressure to get her brother and the other hostages released. Well, even though President George Bush isn't saying much about the McCarthy hostage release today, you can believe that the White House is certainly going at full tilt tonight. And one person who's been there and knows a lot about what happens in situations like this is political science professor Raymond Tanner at the University of Michigan. Professor Tanner is a former member of the Reagan White House Security Council staff, and he joins us live tonight from Ann Arbor.